take it out. I know you're busy and like this is high time on a Friday for many of you. So thank you for not only thinking about yourself, but thinking about your business or whatever you're doing, wanting to be better. And you are investing time into what you do to take care of your clients. So this is awesome. So today I get the privilege of introducing someone that I actually see on a weekly basis. So let me share a little bit about her. She is Coach Noelle Powers. Her business is infactorcoaching.com. Noelle is a business vision coach, author, and speaker. She is the global expert on vision-driven profit, a who's who in America honoree, and is invited each year as an expert panelist to publications including Business Newsweek and Forbes on the topics of brand, marketing, and leadership. Her passion is helping entrepreneurs unlock but healing too, right? Her passion is helping entrepreneurs unlock their potential by becoming visionary leaders, allowing them to not only create profitable brands, but also to leave a legacy of positive impact. And today's workshop is going to be on learning the secrets of America's top brands. So right now I want you to give it up to none other than the Miss Noelle Powers.
Well, first I want to say thank you very much for being here. I do have a sign-in sheet in the back I have a free newsletter. When you sign up for that newsletter, just for attending, I have a free gift for you. It's a 1-year planner to clarify your vision, your niche, and your marketing strategy. Depending on where you go, it's worth about $1,000, and I just want to say thank you for being here, and I want to be here every step of the way in your journey in branding and leading your company. So please make sure you leave your email address, your name, and your card so that I can read your information later if you want me to talk to you. And if you want me to, if you're that person who likes receiving texts for events and future workshops, please leave your phone number as well. So about 4 years ago, I want to just share a story. I hit the restart button on my life entirely. I moved here in the middle of the shutdowns, and by the time I landed, I had moved states 3 times in 2 years, got divorced, changed my profession, and lost my mentor to brain cancer. So when I landed in Ohio, I decided that, well, my life had already exploded, so maybe it was time to put the pieces in the right place, see the opportunity. And I had been in business and leadership for 20 years, and I decided I need to have a vision for my life and my business going forward. And really thought, what is the one contribution I'm going to make? Really, have you ever thought, what is the one contribution I'm going to make to entrepreneurs and leaders? These are extraordinary people. And so I had to figure it out. That if I'm going to give you something as an entrepreneur, I want to make you more of what you already are. Right? You're going to go out there and create positive change. People are looking to you beyond a service or a product that you sell. They're looking to you to create a future that wouldn't exist without you. That's really what it's about. So I did some research. I'm a total nerd. I love reading and writing, so I decided I'm definitely that person who should write a book. And I wanted to look at the creators of America's top brands, right? Steve Jobs and Apple, Jeff Bezos and Amazon. Why? Because their performance is amazing. It looks like a magic trick, right? Apple sells to 5% of tech consumers, and they made 90% of the profits in their market. Right? They were the first brand to reach $1 trillion, and that doubled the next year. Wow. Amazon is the size of its next 7 competitors. Right? Sarah Blakely of Spanx created Spanx with, if you remember, $2,000 and she grew that brand to $1 billion without spending a penny on advertising.
Oh my God.
So these people, as we can see, they're not just in business. They've decided to make a positive impact and to profit on it. So I really wanted to study them. I said they are pulling a set of levers that the rest of us don't know exist. And so I made it my purpose in the next 16 months to figure out what those secrets are. And that's why I wrote Vision Driven Profit, because you don't just need more information now. If you just needed to put one more wrinkle in your brain, you could do everything I said here just by going to the library, right? But the truth is, if you want exceptional results that you've never had, you need to come at the whole thing from a new paradigm. And that's what I call Vision Driven Profit. It's the paradigm where you create your brand based on the impact you want to make, and it lets you lead your industry. Uncontested, no more. You are not competing, you are leading. That is my book. It is available for free on Amazon, on Kindle Unlimited. You are welcome to look through this. I'm doing a rewrite before I release my paperback, but please, if you want to look at this, you are welcome to. So now we're diving in. We said these secrets that these visionary founders of America's best loved and most profitable brands, they all followed a similar track. And these secrets that they share allow you to attract lifelong customers, maximize engagement and profits from today where you're standing, and become the go-to choice in your market. Welcome. So the way that my workshop is structured today is we're gonna go from broad to narrow. We're going to start by talking about these industry leaders and the steps that they take so that you understand the business principles behind the difference in a leading brand and the rest of businesses. And we're gonna narrow it down. We're gonna tell you, kind of talk about what a brand is, the exact steps they took, and really show you what to focus on in a general sense. And we're gonna narrow it down. After about 90 minutes of this workshop, we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna do a group coaching session where we're going to talk about your brand vision, and you can talk about your business, and we're going to really narrow down what you want for your brand in the next 5 years. And I'll tell you what, we wanna take you as far today as possible in your process of creating your own powerful brand. So we start out with focus. I am online probably 20 hours a week between my own clients and just asking people, entrepreneurs around the whole world, do you want a brand? They say yes. And I say, what's stopping you from really making it? And they said, it's my focus. I don't know where to focus, and I don't know what I need to do. I don't know how to be consistent enough to really structure my brand. So I created a webinar, and this is most of what we're going off of, to tell you the 3 biggest mistakes that you make as an entrepreneur that keep you stuck in compete mode when you want to lead your market, and exactly what to focus on, right? So we're gonna do the what to focus on to attract those lifelong customers. I'm gonna have you discover the one surprising thing you need to do to boost your marketing message. So we want free gifts in here, keep you guys awake, so wait for it. And then just show you the proven step-by-step formula on how to establish yourself starting today. And again, I told you, I appreciate you being here. Of all the places you could be right now, of all the things you could be doing, you are right here for 2 hours learning from me. So I'm gonna give you a free gift. It's 52 Ways to Grow a Profitable Brand. That's a free 1-year guide. And that's everything from clarifying your brand vision to crafting your first message into content creation. How to lead your brand with online marketing that's happening right now. So again, thank you. We can never say thank you enough. So our first broad topic is that there is a 1% in brands. And I say they're the 1% because they get it, right? Every industry has one brand that leads it, right? And they do make up to 90% of the profits in their market. If you think like Oprah Winfrey, right? She's a broadcaster. I don't know how does she have a media empire? You know, she was just working on television at one point. How about Harley Davidson? Does everyone know who Harley Davidson is? Yeah, they have fans that are so loyal that they tattoo their logos on their bodies. And they've been around for 120 years. And they've almost gone out of business several times, but their fans turned around and said, oh no, you don't. You see this on my arm? We're ready for the next installment. So that is the 1% that gets it. The other 99%, they don't get it. They lack a strong brand and they will simply compete to not come in last. And this is a strong statement. If you are not the most socially relevant and in-tuned company in your industry, you will eventually compete to just not come in last. So that's the 99%. And I call it the 99%, you know what most of us do? We shuffle, right? Don't we? We shuffle to find out, okay, what is my brand about? We shuffle to say, what kind of marketing should I do? If you've ever seen this in business literature, don't we shuffle to get good employees, whatever that means? In the year 2018, I believe, the shuffling got so bad that it was the year where the most CEOs left businesses. Because even the person who supposedly is leading these companies, when things get bad, they're over there polishing their resume, saying maybe if I don't like the numbers here enough, maybe I'll just shuffle off and join another company. So today, what I want for you is in your mind, I want to take you out of the 99% and help you become the 1%. So. All right, and why am I the person to do it? Tanae gave me a wonderful introduction, but simply put, I study and create industry leaders. That is my passion in life. In my book series, I did 10,000 pages of research on these visionary founders of the top brands in every industry, and we already listed them. But my real intention is to decode those secrets that they have for building their brands so that people like you and I can copy their success and ultimately be our customer's favorite brand. So we serve them the way that those companies do, and that we can maximize our profit and impact with a very clear vision. So again, show you exactly what to do, become the go-to choice in your market. And then those are just a couple of places where I tell them I'm gonna be better behaved, and they just ask me to keep writing articles and showing up as their expert panelists. So very, very excited about sharing my work, and of course, like I said, just helping entrepreneurs get to the next level. So the number one big mistake that you are making that keeps you competing instead of leading is being generic. And that means believing your product or service is for everyone. And here's the problem. If you say, I am for everyone, you are actually saying, I am for no one. And this is the first piece, the mindset that you need to change. That in reality, you're only for one person. You need to, when you wake up in the morning, you need to wake up and see that one person, clear as day. I'm here to serve you. That's the first step here. And just to show you some difference between you are for one person, what is it you do in your brand? What do you deliver? Is it speed, price, or innovation? And I like to do this dividing line, right? Amazon wants to be the fastest at what they do. Who here has a Prime membership? Yeah, okay. Who here loves Prime? I would never live without Prime. Do you remember what internet shopping was like before Amazon?
Yeah.
You would order something and you hoped it was like an adult thing, like you ordered a couch and you hoped it was like a real adult couch, not like like the dollhouse couch for $1,000.
Or worse.
Or worse, or something else, and that your information was secure, and that, by the time you received that package, your self-esteem was so low that you were just willing to live with whatever showed up at your house.
Yes, I don't care.
So what does Amazon do? They save you time. 20 years ago, Jeff Bezos said, in the future, your time as a consumer is going to be the most valuable asset in business. So everything they do on that site is to save you time. They want to save you an hour, 1 and 2 hours per week, right? And how great is a return at Amazon? How much time does that save you? It is awesome. Or how about price? So when I don't feel like paying the normal price on Amazon, I look up Mac.bid. Has anyone been on Mac.bid? Oh my goodness, okay. They lead in price. Why? Because every time you send a product back to Amazon, they don't re-inventory that. They sell it. They liquidate those products
Sell it.
through bidding sites.
I worked for Amazon.
You did? Awesome.
Briefly.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
That's what they do, and they buy enough in volume that the price can be down.
that's right,
Everyone does that. Bass Pro, Cabela's,
that's right,
Walmart, they all do that.
that's right. So people who are pricier, here's the thing. You can be the fastest, you can be the cheapest, and you can be the most innovative, but you can't do all three. So my point is, Mac.bid buys these items that were returned from retailers, and they have you bid for it. So that $100 organizer, hello, welcome. That $100 organizer that you buy on Amazon is $5 on Mac.bid. But why is it $5? Because I have to bid on it just like eBay, and then I have to drive to that warehouse, and I have to go pick it up, and I'm gonna roll the dice for $5 that it's going to be the right product that's in good shape. But what I'm saying is because they are offering the lower price, they can't be telling me, hey, we're the fastest, right? You have to decide who it is you're talking to and what it is they want. Or innovation. There are people who are the most innovative, like Apple. They only sell to new adapters. By the time they had the iPhone out, I knew how to press the power button, right? I'm a late adapter. So I had to learn about the more innovative companies a little bit later doing branding. So innovation means that you're going to be first. That means you're going to take all those resources like Apple, and they not only created the iPod, then they had like the exercise iPod, like the little one, and they just innovate nonstop to prove their superiority, that no one can touch them, that they will be years ahead, right? Steve Jobs, Apple, he was 10 years ahead on every single product he made. So you have to pick, are you the fastest, are you the best price, or are you innovative? Just anything that helps you narrow down and focus. And then, right, the top brands, they focus their attention and energy. They have one person, one impact, and one message. Awesome. All right, my favorite saying ever about brand. Who here knows who Seth Godin is? From the Marketing Hall of Fame. Yes. He says, that's not a brand, that's a logo.
I've heard
Right.
that once,
Yeah,
a long
yeah.
time ago.
So we're gonna talk about what a brand is, but don't think that your logo is a brand. Right, Harley Davidson, they don't just have a logo. They serve people. They have the one group of people who they are adding to their existence, right? And here's a problem. 90% of brand coaches give you the same checklist. Oh, create your logo, create your slogan, here's some social media templates, and they all give you like 50 of the same activities that you do. And I'm gonna tell you what this is. This is packaging. But a brand is a experience that you give people that they can't buy anywhere else. So today we're not talking about your logo or your slogan. I just call it a slogo for short. Those are important things, but they have to come after what we are talking about today. And so one of the problems we get on entrepreneurs, and I see this online all the time, is if everyone is learning and doing the same things, but expecting different performance results. And that's where there's a problem where you're like, I don't get it, I just did 50 things, why am I not getting ahead? And by the way, a lot of those basics you want to do are in the 52 ways to grow your profitable brand. I just decided just to roll it up in one place and have it be one download for you. So here's the question. We're going to talk about what a brand actually is by asking you one question. Why do people fly halfway around the world to stand in line overnight to buy an Apple computer anytime their store opens? Can't they just buy a computer down the street where they live? Of course they can. Did you know that Apple computers, you know they're made from the same stuff, right? The Intel, the processors, you know they do the exact same thing as other computers. So what is it different? They are not there for a computer. They're there for the Apple experience. They're there for, it is a culture, it is a global tribe. They are there for a sense of personal identity, and those products add to their sense of uniqueness, and they use them to create art. Have you ever met a die-hard Apple person? Yeah.
I'm married to one.
Okay, yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, let me ask you, you know, could you ever buy another computer? If you were like, okay,
Yeah.
so you're not the complete diehard. But let me ask you though, you know, when you use it, do you believe you're giving something back, like it's letting you, you know, that you as an individual, you know, that, I'm seeing how diehard you are, no, that's okay. But
Not that hard.
basically, so let me tell you about the people who stand in line overnight, who travel around the world, they believe that those Apple products are empowering them to give something back, right? They think they're adding something to the world by being Apple users. So the whole point in here is that you need to think about your brand as a unique experience for your customers. That it feeds into their ideal version of themselves, and it's something they cannot buy from a competitor. All right, and then here's the third one, short-term focus. Right, we know that about 80% of companies will not be in business in 5 years. It's not the market, the economy, or the competitors that will put you down. It's going to be short-term focus. And I want to tell you, I love the Alex app because, you know, I'm closer to 40 and it's a lot less sexy to be broke at 40 than it was at 20. So learning about money is a really good thing. I just, but it's very interesting. They say the people who think in weeks can make a couple $100s as employees. The people who can plan for months will make a few $1,000s. The people who plan 2 or 3 years out can make millions. And the people who think 10 and 20 years out are billionaires. And I want you to think about this. The next time you say, I don't know what I'm doing, you say, I might try this marketing thing for 2 weeks, or I'm gonna start a podcast today, I'm gonna wait and see, I'm gonna do it for 3 months. Well, that short-term focus is going to kill your brand before it ever even starts. So, and that makes you expect too much early and give up. So most people can't see past the quarter or fiscal year. And another problem is short-term focus gives you short-term results. And today we want to extend your mind a little bit to think 10 and 20 years, even if it's for 1 single second. If you could make one impact on the world through your brand in 10 or 20 years, what would that be? Just so you can extend your focus to something different than what's happening right in front of you. Because this is what people with vision do. Does everyone know who John F. Kennedy is?
Yes.
Yes. How soon did he want people to go to the moon when he stood up? He said in 10 years, right? Did you know that they had no resources to go to the moon, right? They didn't create NASA and then say, we have a vision to go to the moon. He says, we're gonna go to the moon in 10 years. And that was the vision for the people. And then, because they were inspired by the mission, then they built NASA. Then they hired all the technicians and the scientists. But they were united by a common vision for the future. And it's the exact same in business, right? So the founders of these legendary brands, they actually all think 20 years ahead and then work backward to make it happen step by step with their company. So it's a totally different way to think about life. Okay, and now let's talk about the average business product wave. Most people do not have a business the way they think, right? A lot of people, they have a launch and they say, because my launch worked, I have this great business. But the truth is, a launch is a launch, a product cycle is its own thing. A lot of people consider their success based only on their product life cycle, right? Where you build it up, You try to launch when you're the only person offering it, you're up top there, you're making all your money, and as soon as competition starts entering cheaper or better, your life cycle goes down on the product, and your company is following this life cycle, right? So you actually didn't create an ongoing company for long-term success. You just basically had one product, and as soon as that starts going down, you start going down too. Versus, I love to use Amazon as an example. Remember, Jeff Bezos thought 10 and 20 years out. And you see, they grew steadily every single year. They have the greatest growth record in history because he had this vision. In 20 years, I'm gonna replace the store, right? For publishing, he says, I'm gonna replace publishers. So he thought 20 years out, and that whole company had that vision, and he created this culture, and they focused on constantly improving. No matter what part of the business in Amazon you worked in, you contributed to constant innovation. So you see, it grew, and 10 years into it, they created Amazon Web Services. Who here knows what Amazon Web Services is? Amazon Web Service basically gave entrepreneurs low-cost web access for their business. So at year 10, that's actually what happened. They had almost no overhead for their web services, and so that's what took them up to, that's what gave them the most staggering growth ever. Why? Because they were not relying on one product after the other. They were not just following that life cycle, they were following a long-term vision and long-term planning. So that was just and by the way, you don't wanna, I call it ride the camel, start up top and go up your humps and then fall right off the tail. I would much rather, in my business, I would much rather be there. You can make your own decision. So I wanna simplify some of the ideas, again, that these people created brands in a very specific way. And I created this visual here because it makes it clear as day. Today, we are going to talk about building the foundation of your brand. And just to go over this model a little bit, the first thing you do to have a successful brand is think 20 years out. So this is, I call it the brand power pyramid. And does anyone know why the Egyptians created the pyramids? Right, they're pretty, I know they break up the sand really nicely.
Theories on that.
Yeah, there are different theories,
Different theories. Very
but-
good.
To hold information for the future was one of them.
Yeah, they believe that it was like a power
Yeah.
structure.
Yeah, or a
Right.
power plant.
Yeah, that's right, or a power plant, exactly. So why they actually built these pyramids is when if you're ever at a lecture in Vegas, right, you're standing in the middle of this pyramid and you feel lightheaded because all the energy in your body is like flying up to the middle. They wanted to harness power. So because all that energy sweeps up that wide base and goes right up the top. So I'm gonna tell you, they wanted to capture all of that brand power, all that power in the top. And that's exactly what you do in your brand too, by thinking long enough term, because let me tell you, especially with the fast change right now, if you do not have a vision for your company in 20 years, you will have no place in the future. You only earn your place in the future by creating it, and they really get that. So that's a 20-year vision is the foundation of your brand when you get into it. And then of course we do have the sides, social proof, PR. These are real things. I'm not gonna say those don't exist just because you're building this foundation and then delivering your brand promise. And as time goes by, the more you concentrate. So I really want to talk about building the foundation of your brand. It means having a clear vision, message, and culture, just planting the seeds, and just FYI, it takes between 1 and 3 years to create the foundation of your brand, because it's a living organism, right? Dealing with customers and say that you are going to be the one that makes your customer happy, that you're going to dial that in. It takes trial and error. We're just all scientists here. It's fine. Everything's an experiment, and you just need one experiment to work, and it pays for the ones that didn't. So you do need to give yourself time. So it really takes people on average between 1 and 3 years to build the foundation of their brand, and we will talk about this right now, having a more clear vision, message, and culture. and I went over that. Vision, mission, culture. That was the brand power concentration. We went over those stories. Okay. So now I want you to kind of get a clear picture of what it looks like to have a brand vision, message, and culture, because it is going to be the foundation of what you do from this point on. And I love to use the example of Steve Jobs and Apple. So go back to the origin, right? In my book series, I talk about the story of these people, because the story is the most important thing. We have enough information, we're in overload. We need to connect the dots. We need to look back and connect the dots, and not just see who these people were in business, but understand their ability to lead and influence other people, right? So it all starts with vision. So Steve Jobs was a 20-year-old kid walking barefoot down the street, making devices with his best friend to do prank calls. So he was a real jokester. They loved to do this. Oh, they created this blue box. It was this digital device where they could jump on AT&T. They would sneak into the library at Stanford, I think that's the one out there, and steal all these code books for AT&T so they can use this digital, they called it the blue box, to make prank calls. Everyone from Jobs' uncle to the Pope in the Vatican. So that was the real start. It was prank calls to the Pope. But Steve Jobs, he felt like he was called to greatness. And he says, I know we're playing pranks, but he says he realized that for the first time in history, an individual standing in his dad's garage could disrupt billions of dollars in infrastructure with a device this big. And he says, if I can do this with a computer, can you imagine what we could really bring people? And so he decided to create a real computer. Back in the day, if you had any kind of computer, you were like an engineer, right? Your whole garage had different pieces. It had a screen, maybe it had circuit boards all over, and they plugged it in, and it just looked like something out of a beautiful mind. And so Steve Jobs said, okay, I know these hobbyists. I know exactly what they want. I'm gonna create a computer that's one unit. So Steve Jobs started that Apple brand just serving the 20 people he understood better than anyone in the world. He really understood these people. And he says, if I can give them exactly what they want, I am going to be their God. Yes, he had a complex, and that's okay too. But he understood that. So when he decided to create the personal computer, remembering he was not an engineer, he was not going to build it himself, that when he went to investors, he says, everybody knows what a computer is, but they think it's just for engineers and people in white lab coats. And he says, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the power that these organizations have of using computers, I'm going to give it to the individual. I'm going to give it to you. You're going to have the power to do what you want to do what you need to do with easy-to-use devices. And that's why he's the father of the computing age. He created personal computers because he was going to transfer that power from the military and the government and huge corporations, and he's going to give it to you. So see what you're going to do with it. And that's where the Apple brand really started. And then, of course, we all know that he was thrown out of Apple because he had problems. No one starts out as this amazing visionary leader. Everything I tell you today is hard. It's straightforward, but I'm not going to say that just one day you're going to wake up and all the ducks just line up. But we want to plant the seeds of our own greatness so that if it is calling to you, you know how to answer that call. So fast forward, it was 10 years later, and I want to talk about 1997. It was the year that changed business for everyone, and forever. It changed business forever. Why? Apple was dying, right? Apple went from being the 1% when Steve Jobs was in his 20s, during the personal computing, right, when they created the Mac, right? They put the Mac out in 1 year from start to finish, which was amazing. But he left, they had problems, he left. And they stopped being a brand, right? They stopped caring. They went from being the 1% to the 99%, right? So in 1996, Apple made 300 products that no one cared about. Right? They were just corporate bozos, and I'm using Steve Jobs' words here. They were corporate bozos. You know what? I know these all stink, but let's make it cheaper. Yeah. So that's the standard business planning and mentality. So they became completely socially irrelevant, and they were just going to go bankrupt. And that's when they decided to hire Steve Jobs back on as interim CEO. And this was a crossroads, because he said, well, first of all, I already have Pixar, right? Pixar was great. But they said, the people who really believed in his original vision, they said, we need you back. And he really decided that he was going to launch the brand he always meant to with Apple, because the world was going to be a better place with it in it. And that was the motivation. And so in 1 year, he had to clean the whole thing up. And the first thing he did was create a vision, a long-term vision, right? And this one involved digital devices. He says, not only, yes, we're gonna make the world a better place, we're gonna empower the individual with technology, but I want you all to get your cell phones out and put it on the table. Do you mind?
Yes, please.
He says, we're gonna do one better, right? We had personal computing in one generation. He says, now we're gonna create the technology that makes it so you can integrate every aspect of your life on a mobile device. That was his vision for 20 years from that point. And I'm just going to, no one's gonna be on. I just want the rest of my Facebook group to see you lovely people at the workshop. But that vision, it was concrete. And he says, so the first thing I need is my vision as the foundation of Apple, and then we need to have a culture. So he says, this is not about shuffling, right? This is about total alignment and calibration. One vision, and anyone who doesn't see it is out. That's why he says get rid of the bozos. He was talking about the corporate board, not the employees. But then he personally interviewed every single person in Apple to make sure that their beliefs aligned with this, that it was wonderful that they were animated. And then again, right, going back, creating that team, and then that message for the ideal customer, you know, what speaks to their deepest identity. That's where Think Different came in. That was his, you guys know, here's to the crazy ones. You guys heard this, here's to the crazy ones, the rebels, the misfits, the troublemakers, the ones who see things different, right? You can argue with them, dispute. The only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. And they drive the human race forward. Where other people see crazy, we see genius. Because it's only the ones crazy enough to think they can change the world who do. That's what Think Different was. That was not a slogan from a marketing agency. They used an agency, yes, but that was his favorite quote. And it came from his vision. He decided he was going to be the energy behind the change he wanted to see. And on the topic of that language that he spoke there, I want to talk about the language of ideals. Who here has heard of Simon Sinek? Start with why. Okay, start with why. So you have to read Simon Sinek, Start with Why. It's the bread and butter of meaningful leadership right now. And basically he says that everyone in business will think about what they do, right? What do you do? Oh, I sell computers, or I make copies for people. Some people will even think about how, like, well, I'm the best at making it. Great. The top companies always start with why. Why do I do what I do? Like, he uses the examples of Southwest Airlines. Oh, you get on that airplane and have fun. They start with why. They want to bring joy to the world. They want it to be a pleasure for you to fly, right? Same thing with all the companies I talked about here. They all started with why they were doing what they did. And what he points out is that why they have the most loyal customers, why They attract lifelong customers. Who here has ever heard of the lifelong value of a customer? Okay. You will make 80% of your revenue with 20% of your most loyal customers. It's an 80-20 rule. So with brands, they focus on having the smallest viable audience that will support them. You want to learn how to make more money from 20% of your customers than you ever could from 80%. And the reason why do these visionaries create these tribes? Why do people follow them around? Why do they fly around the world? I'm telling you, back in the 90s, if you remember this, when Steve Jobs says, let's open the biggest retail store in the world. Circuit City down the street almost couldn't give computers away to get someone through the front door. So I want to tell you this, that we do not make decisions with our rational mind. Your customer does not make decisions with their rational mind. They make it with their limbic system. The limbic system is a much older system of our brain that dates back into prehistory, and that is responsible for your beliefs that translate into values and ultimately into your ideal. What is your ideal version of yourself? Why are you gonna pay more? I know Matt likes Nike back there. Just do it, right? Just do it. Why? Why is it, there's some ideal that it's speaking to, right? Adidas can make a tracksuit, but who wears Nike? That's right, you don't like Nike. Visionary leaders speak the language of ideals, and it makes people act with fierce loyalty. Fierce loyalty. That means you stop worrying about price. That way you never second guess yourself, am I doing the right thing? If you are speaking to one person and you understand that ideal version of their life, and you can move them to it a little bit, that is the difference. And then the last part is you have to create a culture of excellence. Nothing matters if you don't have a culture. Have you guys ever just met someone who had a very successful launch and everyone's excited? They've got startup fever. They love it. And then like 2 years later, they're like, what happened? Everyone's bored now. Because they didn't create a culture. And I love what Steve Jobs says. If you don't intentionally create a culture of excellence, you may unintentionally create one of mediocrity. Oh, it's painful. Painful. So whatever it is you want to accomplish in your brand, you need to create a culture, because a culture will drive results. And the culture starts with you. You can't say your employees stink, because you're just holding up a mirror of yourself. Right? And we're in a business world where we're used to bad culture. It's not just like neutral. It's like you wonder what that bozo is even thinking about and why you're still going in and punching the time clock. But the difference is culture. If you're only for one consumer, you're also only for one employee. Right? You guys have to be on the same page. You have to be sharing those ideals. You have to create a culture where people want to contribute. I love what John F. Kennedy said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And millions of people, it still inspires them every single day. They want to contribute something. They want to contribute and they want to make something great. They want to make something great. And that culture's still alive, even though he is not. Okay, so going back. So Apple left the 99% competing to not come in last to the 1% leading in 1 year. So Steve Jobs had 1 year to save Apple from complete bankruptcy. 1 year later, they created the iMac, right? They created their first digital product. They literally had 90 days until the company was gonna run out of money entirely. And that's the foundation of the Apple brand we know today. 10 years later, he was gone, right? He was gone. The year after he passed, Apple became the most profitable brand in all history, passing $1 trillion in capitalization. Again, selling to 5% of the tech consumers, right? The next year they doubled it. And just last year, they actually passed 3 trillion. But now those are numbers, but I had you all take out your phones because I want you to think about what would your life be without your smartphone? Where would that be? Right? Yeah.
Telephone
Yeah.
booth.
Like, what do you really believe is even possible if you didn't have that
I need to
phone?
run to the telephone.
And
booth.
you're right, I know, we'd be like the mask, you know, off to the telephone booth. Well, awesome. Because I wanna talk about that I do talk about numbers because it's one metric, but what really makes it work, why you have this phone here is because this is someone's vision right here. This is someone's vision, and that vision was so powerful that is literally changing the lives of millions of people every single day around the whole world.
Some for good, not some good.
Yeah, exactly. But you get to choose, right? And you get to choose.
It is a choice.
That is, you do get to
You choose to
choose.
do wrong with it,
But
that's on you.
that's right, but the opportunity. So I just wanna reiterate, I'm closing up this section on the what, creating that brand vision, message and culture. So is it time for you to stop? Is it time for you to stop second guessing your brand strategy, obsessing about pricing, feeling confused about what to do next? So we talked about exactly what to focus on to change your mindset and become more of a brand. Now I want to show you examples of how, and because I am a professional business coach, I have an online program, and I'm not here to promote that to you as consumers, but to talk about there is a how. And I want to talk about that step by step with real people, because creating a brand is the same thing for a corporate CEO as it is for a realtor, as it is for someone with a startup. I help people with blogs, right? The ability to lead and influence people with a brand is the same. And just to give you an idea, right, Mary was a realtor. She had been in business 3 or 4 years. She loved what she did. She was great at what she did, but she could never lead her area in luxury home sales. That's what she wanted to do. She wanted to take the state. So but she couldn't get the traction she needed. She didn't have like the real brand experience for her customers. So I took her through step by step. I call it the vision, message, and culture. So we took her through that process of how to create that brand foundation. And I showed her how to publish. Okay, people, you've heard in academia, publish or perish. If you want to set yourself aside as a leader, publish to someone. Oh my gosh, don't try to sell to anyone. Become someone's expert for a year and then try and sell them something. They will be knocking down your door. So I talked to her about not only having this brand, but publishing in the right way, where people perceived her as the leader and they came to her. And the next year, woohoo, she created a team, she doubled her income with the same marketing budget, and then the next year she was the #1 agent in the state for luxury home sales with a small team. So, awesome success story on creating the foundation of your brand. Founder CEO, Tom owned a tech company. Everybody knows what SaaS is. It's a good thing to have, but he had a great launch, right? Oh, everyone is happy, they're profiting. You know, they were 4 years in and the startup excitement were gone. So then he had a problem, right, with keeping his employees motivated. Who here? No one wants to work anymore, right? And so then the competitors started coming up with the exact thing he did. They had better, stronger media presence. And long story short, he had to pay 4 times more to market for advertising to stay in the exact same position he was in when he launched. Very, very common. So I took him through it, right? They started struggling to have employee turnover, and the same thing, when he really put together his clear brand vision, message, and culture and started to really work it, I showed him some social media approaches, right? Cut your marketing by 1/3, and they just chose one area of their market to lead. 2 years later, oh, this is great. Yeah, so they created a product line. He had that team, like I said, just like Apple. He created a culture, had a very small team that helped innovate. And it's 2 years later, and he's putting in the application for the Inc. 5000. So He went from the 99% to the 1%. And I wanted to show you examples that it happens to everyday people. You know, it's easy for us to focus, I think in business, especially small business, it's so easy to focus on the things you don't have. But if you don't have something today, you don't need it. Yeah,
That's good.
you don't need it. Because when you have vision, you create conditions instead of responding to them, right? You're willing to pave the road to get there, especially if it doesn't exist.
Say that again.
Yes. When you have vision, you create
Create.
conditions rather than respond to them.
Conditions.
And the only reason why, you know, it's not theirs, you need to pave the path to get there. And I want you to be willing to do that and able to do that. And I wanted to show you these examples because anyone can do this. It's not easy, but it is straightforward. And one of the reasons why I wrote the books that I did and why I speak and why I get up at 6:30 every morning to do social media and why I was 3 months into my new career in an empty apartment with my kids sleeping on the rug on a bare floor was because I believed that in 20 years that I wanted to leave something behind and I was going to do whatever I had to do to get there. So again, the process of creating a strong brand with vision is the same, whether you're a corporate leader or a solopreneur or an influencer. You know, you can become the go-to choice in your market if you set your intention to do it in the first place, follow proven steps that I'm happy to give you in those free programs and everything, and accept the journey to the top. It doesn't work if you want to get rich quick. Like I said, big money, you gotta marry rich or hope someone rich in your family dies real soon, right? You're not gonna get rich, successful, or famous overnight. I want you to feel great, but not try to do that overnight. Or try and wait and see if something works. No, that doesn't work. Okay, you can't wait and see. You want to choose the impact your brand will make and do whatever it takes to achieve it. And what we're talking about today is just how to accelerate it, right? How to be more clear, how to accelerate it. And that's how we will be. We're going to take a little break. You guys ate and everything, but we want to get up and stretch. I'm going to go into we have a group coaching session here in 2 minutes. Why don't we take a 5-minute break? And you're going to go over your first exercise on how to clarify your vision. You're going to get all your values here in the workshop right here. So come back here exactly in 5 minutes.